My name is Jennifer, and I'm going to talk to you about mountain pose or Tadasana. In Ashtanga classes, when you come to the top of your mat, toes together, that's like a coming to attention. That's called Samasthiti. So why do we need to practice good posture? In today's world, we're constantly hunched over, right? Like we're looking at our phones, we're driving in a car, we're sitting at a desk. Never are we really focusing on standing up the way probably our grandmother, I don't know if you had a grandmother like me or my father, told us to stand. We're just constantly slouching. What does that do? That actually makes it harder for you to breathe. It puts more pressure on your low back. And it also puts more pressure on your neck. So check me out when I'm slouching. My shoulders are rounded forward. My head, my big 8-pound bowling ball head is reaching forward, which puts a lot of pressure here on this low back. And then, most of the time, your butt's either coming forward like this or your butt's sticking out like this. Can you see all the pressure that's going on when you do that? So what does that do over time? That puts a whole bunch of pain, pressure in the low back, a whole bunch of pain in the neck, and it makes it harder to breathe. When you're hunched over like this, it's much, much harder to breathe. Also, and you really can't tell in these pants, bad choice of clothing, when you're slouching, more often than not, you're also locking out your knees. And so that's just not good for you either. That puts even more pressure in the low back. And then, when you're not even talking about bad posture or slouching, you've got genetic predisposition. So some people, a few people are actually born, basically pretty stacked. Some people, me, I have a little bit more of a tilt in my low back. Like I have to really work on straightening this curve out in order to keep my low back from hurting. Some people are the opposite. Some people are built where their pelvis is almost tilting too far forward. God made us that way. That's okay. What we can do in a yoga practice is to work on getting our postures, getting our bodies in better alignment, which will help to reduce pain. So how can we do that? Let's start with our feet. I'm going to roll up my legs, so you can see a little bit better. So usually when you are trying to stand at attention, like whether you're in line, whether you're at a concert, you're going to stand with your feet stacked beneath your hips. Why is that? Because you want to kind of stack your joints, right? My ankles below my hips below my shoulders, and then my head just sitting straight out from the center of them. Let's look at it from the side. Now, a lot of times we're leaning forward, right? We're hunched forward. Some people might be a little bit more like this, but if you check me out, when I'm standing up straight and tall, my hips are stacked over my ankles, and my shoulders, they're in a straight line over my hips, right? And my head, look, my chin is not tucked in, and my chin isn't sticking out. It's like I've got an imaginary string from the top of my head connected to the ceiling, and it's pulling me up. So what's going on in my feet? My feet aren't just collapsing in. We have a lot of problems with that now, especially, as you age, arches fall and all this stuff. When you are actively standing, you're pressing down into the bottoms of the feet, lifting the arch. You'll find when you lift your arch, it's going to activate the muscles, obviously, in the bottom of the feet, but it's also going to activate the quads. When you practice lifting your arches, suddenly your knees have to soften. So what's that do? That creates a little bit of space and space, relaxation probably is a better word, in the low back. The next thing you want to think about is a nice, especially if you've got a tilt here, pelvic tilt forward. Now, if you tend to have an overly tilted forward pelvis, then you're going to straighten it up. So it really depends on how you're shaped. So I have a tilt that goes back. I've got to tilt my tailbone down. Now, did you see when I did that? Here I'm standing naturally, belly out. When I tilted my tailbone down, my knees bent a little bit. That's good. And my low belly came in. That's even better. That's that Uddiyana Bandha that you hear about in a yoga class. That's the transverse abdominals, keeping the low back safe. When you engage your transverse abdominals, it takes up to 40% of the pressure off of your low back. Who doesn't want less pressure in their low back, right? So when you have the pelvic area correctly stacked, so for me, that's the front of my pelvis, tilting forward ever so slightly, that engages the belly. It's almost like the pelvis is trying to kiss the ribs. That's going to create muscle strength here in the front side of the body, space and relaxation in the backside of the body. It's also going to be much harder to slouch forward when your pelvis is holding you in the right space. So as I tilted this pelvis forward, my shoulders came back, right? And it was almost natural to have my shoulders stacked over my hips. So now we have to talk about these shoulders, right? We slouch all the time. We're looking at our phones. I already talked about that. So you have to make a conscious effort to pull those shoulders down and back. So that was kind of a exaggerated down and back. But here's the thing. It feels really good when you exaggerate that. It's almost like a nice stretch. You get them up towards your ears. This feels yucky. Why would we do it? Pull them down in a way. And suddenly you feel all of this space joining in here in your shoulders between your neck. So let me show you a front view. I'm pressing down in my feet. My arches are lifting. That's lifting my quads. Pelvis is tilting forward. Low belly is in. My shoulders, here they are. This feels so yucky. Why would I do it? Roll them down and back. Let those hands just relax. And when you get those shoulders away from the ears, it's almost like you grow a couple inches. The crown of my head, that's the top of my head. It's reaching up high. My chin isn't sticking out too far, and it's not sticking in too much. It's nice and easy. So this is an active posture. These muscles are working. If I don't have the belly in, I'm going to dump it out, and my low back has to work. And that's not fair, right? So standing up with good posture is a lot of work. It's requiring the belly to work. It's requiring the quads to work. It's even requiring those little muscles in your feet to work. It's requiring the muscles in the back of your body and the shoulders to work to pull them down and away. So it's a little bit of work. But what it's doing is it's stacking your joints correctly. It's taking pressure off areas that generally have pain associated with it. Can I get an amen with low back pain and headaches? And it's going to help you fight gravity, right? So we all have, my grandmother, even though she told me about standing up straight, right? She still kind of ended up like this, osteoporosis. With our yoga practice and our conscious attention to rolling those shoulders back, chest is up and proud, crown of the head up high. We can fight some of the effects of gravity here. Thank you so much for listening today and joining in. I hope you enjoyed our discussion on the importance of good posture. Here, everybody can have good posture, whether you have issues in the low back, whether you have issues with your spine, whether you're having to do this from a chair. You can always have good posture. You work from the space that you're in right here, right now, and then we continue to practice and we continue to grow. Anytime that you sit there and you practice this transverse abdominal engagement, it will help you to have better balance. It will help you to have better posture. And so I hope you enjoyed this training, and stay tuned. We'll have lots more to come. Thanks a lot. See you soon.